Hey everyone, this is my Assassin Deception rotation guide with commentary to explain what I'm doing in my rotation, why I'm doing what I'm doing. To start, I'm first going to go over some gearing real quick. You want to reach your accuracy cap of 100%, so you do that with 758 accuracy. At 198 gear, that means you're going to have 6 pieces plus an augment. So as you see here, I got my earpiece, my implants, 1 augment, and then 3 enhancements. For your remaining 4 enhancements, I personally recommend 3 surge, 1 alacrity. Surge hits high, diminishing returns pretty quickly, and I think that 1 alacrity piece really helps out to kind of give a slight boost to your APM and reduce those cooldowns nice, but you still get enough surge to pop for your critical hits that, you know, it's a big enough multiplier for them. Because Deception does so well with crits, I go high crit. I'm over 29% with the datacrons that I have, so that's around 495 crit rating. It's really pushing it up, and for melee that's big because you got exploitive strike, so every time you force crit, then you get 5% more critical chance on your melee, and that's going to have practically 100% uptime, depending on what your DPS uptime is on a boss, and if you just have a bad RNG streak where you don't crit at all on a force attack, which would suck. Going now from the gearing side to the utility side, this is a really generic setup that I use. It's basically for fights I don't give a shit about, it's for story mode, it's for really whatever. Parsing, you know, on a fight by fight basis where there's more important stuff, you know, if I need that extra force shroud time or force speed time, or if I need that extra lacerate damage for ads, you know, then I'll spec differently, but generically, this is what I like to take. I like my quicker 15-second force speeds instead of 20. I like the 4% extra damage reduction I get roughly from having insulation, which increases your armor rating by 30%. I like this one I pretty much always choose because it helps me be quicker. And as a melee class, it's kind of big to stay in melee range, so if your boss is kiting you and you can't catch up to it, that's kind of a bad situation. This one's pretty much mandatory no matter what for Deception. It's Fade. It increases your, or decreases your cooldown, Blackout, and Force Cloak by a considerable amount, and this really helps with your Blackout, Dark Embrace timings, and Force Cloak. And why Dark Embrace is so huge? Well, it increases your Force regeneration by 50%, and also it reduces the damage that you take by 25% when Dark Embrace is active. So that's pretty big. You know, the opener, you come out of stealth, you got 6 seconds of Dark Embrace, you pop Blackout, another 6 seconds, pop Force Cloak, another 6 seconds, Blackout's reset from Force Cloak, so another 6 seconds. Now you have 24 seconds where you have 12 force per second instead of 8 on regen, and then you have 25% reduced damage reduction where, you know, with Entropic Field giving you up to 9%, then you already have, you know, 22% or so damage reduction. You're pretty much a tank for those first 24 seconds, which is nice to have. Audacity is your only real DPS utility other than Lambast. This one's single target, and it gives you an additional charge of recklessness, which is huge because that just basically means an extra free crit. Now you won't always crit, you know, 89% chance that I have that I'll crit, but you go through Ball Lightning and Discharge quick enough that you should almost always burn all your charges. It'd be pretty bad RNG if you didn't. Then for Heroic, I don't always pick 2. Generically I will. Sometimes I'll drop Assassin Shelter and put it into Disjunction, or I'll drop Shroud Madness, put it in Disjunction or Immersion or something. It really depends on the fight, but what I like from Shroud of Madness is that I'm receiving more healing, so it's helping the healers, and then if they want the Phase Walk, which is really never really necessary in anything, I can drop that for them and help them output more. And Shroud of Madness is nice because you have, whenever you're doing your Dark Embrace timings, yeah, 24 seconds of being a tanker, 18 in the mid-fight when, you know, you just do a Blackout, Force Cloak, Blackout. But 2 of those seconds in there, you can stand in practically anything for 2 seconds. Or if you have to save for an extra cooldown later, it's nice to have because, you know, Shroud's on cooldown. Well, you can just stealth out and now you have more Shroud. So that's really helpful to have. The opener for Deception is kind of changed with 3.1.2, but at the same time, not really. They reduced Crushing Darkness from 30 meters to 10. What does that mean? It just means you gotta stand closer. Since you should always start a fight from stealth, you're not really gonna pull the boss at 10 meters. Some bosses don't pull when you're that close anyways. Underlurker, Sword Squadron, I think Bulo. Haven't really tested out with too many others, but I basically walk up to about 9.9 meters with them. I stay stealth. Tank counts down, 3, 2, at 2, I'll start precasting Crushing Darkness, and I won't pull at all. So it's really helpful to have throwing that extra damage without wasting any GCDs. If for some reason you can't get close enough to use Crushing Darkness to start, you have two other options. Just start far enough and move in before one GCD goes through, and you can discharge at 10 meters. If you're going to be out for more than a GCD, or you just feel more comfortable with doing another attack first, then you can low slash, because that's a 30-meter range attack. But force speed, no matter what, will help you get into range fairly quick. So it's not really a big issue if you have to skip the Crushing Darkness, and I don't really think there's any reason to ever need to low slash as your opener. Another option that you can do, and I just don't do it on fights, I just think it's silly, it's too much of a hassle to time up with your tanks. I do it for parses just because it's that little bit of extra boost. But if you do 2 lacerates, you can basically pre-proc induction and voltage to 2 stacks, making your first ball lightning cost 16 force instead of 32. But as I said, you're going to start with 24 seconds of Dark Embrace. You're going to have plenty of force regeneration. That extra cost is not going to hurt you. The other thing is that 2 stacks of voltage in the beginning gives this first ball lightning a chance to unleash surging charge hit, and chances are it's going to hit, but it's only about 2,000 damage when it does, assuming you have overcharged saber going in the beginning too. And that 2,000 damage, to give an idea, some perspective on it, it's 11 DPS in a 3-minute fight. So yeah, if you have a 0% wipe on a boss, that sucks. Maybe you could have used that, and that could have been a difference, but that can be said for a lot of different things. So it's absolutely not mandatory, it's not recommended, it doesn't really help that much. It's nice for parses just to get that little bit of DPS out. Now I'll quickly go over to the Dark Embrace timings again, so you'll see I have Dark Embrace there, so it's going to last me 6 seconds out of stealth. Now as soon as Dark Embrace wears off, I'm going to immediately pop Blackout so that I can maintain Dark Embrace uptime, and then as soon as that's done, I'll go to Force Cloak, and then I'll go to Blackout again, and that way I have greater force regeneration in the beginning. I can kind of hit harder in the opener and such. It's not a big deal. So I'm gonna go ahead and start up. Go ahead and show the induction and voltage being started off. So I'll go ahead and precast Crushing Darkness. Now I'm gonna pop all cooldowns in the beginning. My Adrenal, hit hard. After this Maul, I'll Dark Embrace or farm me Blackout, which will give me Dark Embrace. After that, Force Cloak. Now even though Recklessness is off cooldown, I'm going to wait till I have a discharge available. Wow, that bad proccing. So I use the Recklessness after discharge. The reasoning for that is, I don't want to waste any stacks of static charge, because doing so will actually basically be a DPS loss. Now, as you saw right there, I had 2 stacks of induction already, so I decided to Saber Strike instead of Voltaic Slash. And the reasoning for that is just to help with force management. If I don't do that, I can run into force trouble. That's bad. So, you only need 2 stacks, you don't need 3, which is one reason I do that. So as you see, as Blackout came off cooldown, I immediately used it. Again, 2 stacks of induction, I'll just Saber Strike instead, just to help with force management. And again. You notice I'm pretty much using Ball Lightning on cooldown. Recklessness is off cooldown, but I'm not going to use that just yet. I'm going to wait until Discharge procs right there. Now I'll go ahead and use Recklessness again. Now I'm back to a Dark Embrace window. Target's now down to 36%, so once I get into the execute phase, I'm going to start doing my assassinate on cooldown. The only thing with higher priority will be discharge. And it's nice because it helps with force management too. It's cheaper than Voltaic Slash. Now you still have to Voltaic Slash every once in a while, because you don't want to let your stacks of voltage run out. So after this assassinate, right there, I'm going to go ahead and Voltaic Slash. So there you have it. Now at the end there, you saw me use Force Cloak instead of waiting for Blackout. I popped Recklessness when I still had static charges, and the reason for that is the boss is about to die. I don't want to, not use a Recklessness window. I don't want to take advantage of the extra regen, because I want to stay away from Saber Striking at the end. I want to do all the high DPS abilities I have. I'm going to kind of forego the, the rotation. I'm going to hit with a Maul. And if I have 2 stacks of induction and, I'm low on force, yes, I'm still going to go with a Maul over a Saber Strike or a Voltaic Slash because I want that extra DPS. You want to hit harder at the end, and as you saw, from the 30% phase on, DPS should be increasing. It's because you do more overall damage, you're doing those assassinates, and it was a pretty good parse. 45.5 APM with 120 alacrity is about the goal for deception while parsing, at least for a million, and I think a 1.5 million. I haven't parsed 1.5 million in a while. I believe my last 1.5 million parse had about 45.5 APM, but that's about your range for APM, your APM target at least, so you have an idea, if you're not in the same gear. As far as DPS goes, what I find to be the average for deception is actually about, I'm in full 198 minus about 4 or 3 armorings in a main hand, so everything else is best in stat. The armorings are 192 set piece. So really, 45 to 4600 for that type of gear. This was an example where I got some better crits, obviously, which is why my DPS is a little bit higher. But yeah, that's pretty much the rotation in a nutshell. It's really easy to follow with the UI changes after 3.0. You're pretty much hitting what's lighting up with slight rule set on how you decide, if you have 2 stacks of induction and Maul is procced, and there's a GCD before Ball Lightning is available, it's really not worth it to waste that Maul right away unless the proc is about to fall off, which, that shouldn't be the case. So in that case, you're going to Saber Strike, then you're going to use your Ball Lightning, then afterward, then you can use your Maul. You're not going to cut off any other procs because of doing that, or clip your Duplicity procs because it's on a 10-second rate limit, as you can see. So you'll be fine doing that, and that helps with force management as well. Of course, the only exception, as you saw toward the end of that parse, is where I did that anyway because the boss was about to die. I also popped at the end there, you saw I popped an Adrenal again. Usually I try to save those for Recklessness timings because of those crits, but the other thing is I'll save Overcharge Saber sometimes for an Adrenal. That's on a parse where I know I'm only going to get to use 2 Overcharged Sabers, 2 Adrenals, a few Recklessnesses. In an actual fight, maybe it's 6 minutes long, you don't want to wait your Adrenal with Overcharged Saber. You want to use your Overcharged Saber on cooldown. That's really all there is to it. It's really fun to play. Great class, and especially on the part where your damage reduction at most times is going to be around 32%. So you're essentially in heavy armor, courtesy of Entropic Field. So yeah, that's all there is to it. Hope this guide was helpful, and have a good one.